Hi ladies, one of the biggest reasons that we don't feel good is because we don't know what we want in life. If you think about it, how can we feel truly fulfilled if we don't know what we want? Without that clarity, and I know this from experience, we end up chasing things that aren't really important to us. We often say yes to whatever comes our way, and as a result, we can stay stuck in these limiting patterns. But when you get clear on what you want, everything shifts because the universe responds to your intention. Today, I want to speak about how to create empowered goals that align with your soul. These are not just to-do lists or productivity hacks. These are goals that feel like you, that energize you, and that naturally pull you forward. Why do most goals not stick the way that we traditionally set our goals? Because often they come from pressure, comparison, or the need to fix ourselves. And that is why we set them in January and we forget them in February. But soul-aligned goals are different. They energize you, they inspire you, and they're achievable because they are rooted in who you truly are. I'd like to go through with you my 8 steps to empowered goals process. Number 1 is to state it in the positive. Instead of focusing on what you don't want, we want to focus on what you do want. As an example, I want to feel strong and energized instead of I don't want to feel tired and be overweight anymore. And this isn't just about fake positivity, it is about moving towards something instead of moving away from something. When we set away from goals, we might end up moving, yes, away from that thing, but we might not necessarily go towards where we want because we haven't defined where we want to go. There are 2 issues with this mainly. One is that when we set away from goals, it actually releases more stress hormones into the body because we're essentially telling our nervous system that we need to escape. But on the other hand, when we set towards goals, we give our brain and body clear instructions on where to go, and it feels safe and inspiring because we want to move towards it. The other problem with away from goals is that once we've moved far away from where we don't want to be anymore, we no longer feel that motivation because we're away. Often we end up then just going backwards towards where we didn't want to be anymore, to then just move away from it again. And this becomes a very negative cycle. The next part of this process is to make it vivid and tangible. You want to be able to see it, hear it, and feel it. Imagine yourself living that outcome. The more concrete you make the goal, the more that your brain and body can lean into it. The next is to know your evidence. How will you know when you've achieved your goal? Was there a moment? Was there a sign? Was there a feeling? The more concrete, the better. Ask yourself, who am I with? Where am I? When is this happening? Give your goal context. Number 4 is to make sure your goal is self-directed. Choose goals that depend on you and not on someone else so that it is always in your hands. Next is to elicit your why. Your why is your biggest driver. To uncover it, write your goal down, look at it, and ask yourself, what would this do for me? You might find that, okay, well, it will give me more money. Okay, what will that do for me? Well, having more money will allow me to travel. What will that do for me? You might go deeper and find eventually that traveling gives you a sense of freedom. Maybe it gives you joy, maybe peace. When you connect your goal to your deeper value, it gains staying power. What that means is that when obstacles come your way, you won't actually give up. You will work through them because you're connected to that deeper why. Next is to check congruence. You want to make sure that this is internally aligned with your values, with your relationships, with your lifestyle. If the goal clashes with what's most important to you, this will cause internal conflict. So you want to refine the goal until it feels harmonious and supportive. An empowered goal will feel aligned on every level. As an example, your goal might require you to stop eating a certain food, but there might be a part of you that is really gaining something out of eating that food. It might be gaining a sense of peace. So there will be an internal conflict there, of course. And what you can do here is just get creative. You can ask yourself, how can I still have that feeling through a different behavior by not eating that food, but through an action that aligns more with the outcome of my goal? Next is to check ecology. How will this goal affect the people in my life? For example, Maybe you need to send a message out to your loved ones and say that you won't really be contactable for the next 2 weeks because you need to focus. When you think about the ripple effect that your goal is going to have, it allows you to create more balance and support around your goal. Next is to gather resources and take the first steps. What do you already have in terms of skills, strengths, support? And then from that, decide what is my first step going to be. Then also get clear on, well, what am I missing in terms of skills, strengths, and support? And make a plan to start to gain those things. For example, maybe you need to do a course in business, or maybe you need to ask someone in your life to help you look after the kids while you work on this thing. And very last is to have a way to measure your progress. How will you know that you are on track? Maybe it's ticking something off at the end of every day that you've got written up on the wall. Making sure that you are measuring and tracking builds momentum and maintains clarity. So as you work through your goal, you want to keep asking yourself, does this light me up? Does this feel like me? If it's not feeling like you, if it's not lighting you up, maybe the goal isn't right. Or maybe the goal isn't chunked correctly, meaning let's say that your goal is to have this house, but maybe that feels so far away that you can't connect to the motivation and clarity you need to work towards getting that house. So maybe you need to halve that goal, find that halfway point and connect emotionally to that. So maybe it's having a goal of having $5,000 savings in your account. And as you're working through, keep checking in, is this goal aligning with my values? Aligned goals will feel expansive, almost effortless and natural. But here's the truth, even if that goal is aligned, there may still be limiting beliefs that are causing resistance. And this is where the deeper work comes in, healing those inner wounds so that you don't just have to rely on discipline or willpower. When you clear those blocks, your goal will stop feeling like a fight and start feeling more like a flow. If you'd like to know more about the inner work, I have created a video on limiting beliefs and internal conflicts. And just remember that these are not your enemy. These are actually here to protect you. They're protecting you from maybe perceived shame or failure. And I'll leave the link to that video in the description below. Clarity is power, and when you stop wasting your time on what doesn't matter to you, you start moving towards what you truly want, what is truly important to you. This is going to create a life that is much more fulfilling because your actions are aligned with your soul's desires. So let me ask you this, what is one goal that you're going to redefine after watching this video? I'd love to hear that in the comments below. And if you liked this video, hit like and subscribe for more around your emotional wellness. I'll see you in the next video where I'll be teaching you a technique that can remove a limiting pattern or limiting belief in just 5 minutes. Thanks for listening.